This week I started a campaign using Fantasy Flight Games' Edge of the Empire. Now, I've been a Star Wars fan since that very first night I saw it, although I haven't really ever paid attention to things outside the films. Not that interested in the expanded universe, focused primarily on the films. I was lucky enough to end my drought of tabletop face-to-face gaming here in the city of Daejeon by stumbling across a group of 5 people who had been playing Dungeons & Dragons together, but the game had been on hiatus for long enough. I think they felt like it wasn't going to start back up again, and then I crossed their path. And in discussions about, life, the universe, and everything, we all hit upon the fact that we all like Star Wars to a large degree. So it seemed obvious that that's what we should play. Now, I briefly flirted with the idea of dragging out my old West End Games D6 Star Wars because, it's tested, it holds true. It definitely produces a Star Wars-like feel, that sort of thing, and it has really stood the test of time. But at the same time, I did buy Edge of the Empire. I did buy all the dice, and I have to admit to a lot of curiosity about how the concept of narrative dice would actually play out. Is this something that I would enjoy or not? Is this something that actually adds to the game or not? And so, it was Edge of the Empire that I included in my pitch. The pitch itself was really simple. I asked the group, would they be interested in answering a call to a deceptively simple-seeming salvage run? They all smiled and laughed, so I knew I had pitched it the right way. And they began to prepare characters. Now, in Edge of the Empire, the Force is not a major factor. And of course, there were moments before character generation began where there was talk about, I'd like to play a Jedi, or how do Force powers work, and do you have to choose being a Force user before the game begins, and that sort of stuff. And I leaned toward not having Force users active at the beginning of the campaign. And once it was explained that specializing in Force abilities could come at any point, didn't have to be at creation, people relaxed on that, and once they started to exploring other concepts, they appeared to get really excited about their options and their characterizations. Walking through the character creation chapter was all that they needed to make some really interesting characters, and their previous experience with each other led them to do so cooperatively from the beginning. This wasn't something that I had to push on the group or suggest to the group or teach the group how to do. So that was nice. When I joined the character creation process, they were already building links to each other and suggesting archetypes for how to bring these concepts out. So I was quite excited by that. Now, on my end of the scale, it was my job to learn the system. And I have to say, when I showed up on game day, I did not have the level of comfort with the system that I wanted. I mean, having read the whole thing, I was reassured that it was a system just like any other. It's a dice pool system based on numbers of successes. It has, standard rolls, it has opposed rolls, it has competitive rolls, it has special effects triggering at certain levels of success. I mean, there's really nothing groundbreaking or new about it, except for the dice. And as soon as we sat down to play, all of my concerns about the dice, which really was where my hesitation was centered, they just evaporated. In the very first scene, we went through 2 rolls, and I waived 1 roll based on ability, so a passive skill check. By the time that process was over, I was totally comfortable. The The players were comfortable, and while there was some hesitation about what to call each individual die, I mean, is this a difficulty die, or is this a setback die, is this a boost die, that sort of thing. They all have names, or the individual symbols on the dice, you know, is that a success, or is that a triumph, or a despair symbol, or whatever. I don't think it took more than 5 rolls before everybody had the jargon, everybody knew the dice, everybody could build a pool confidently, and people were really enjoying the in-character negotiation process for how to build that pool, and, you know, the back and forth between player and GM is to gain advantage or to, you know, recognize legitimate disadvantage. So by the time the pool was rolled, looking for, you know, the frame of how the scene would be narrated from that point, everybody was really clear on the scene. I never had to explain things twice. Considering we were playing in a loud coffee shop and that there were 5 players, not all of whom were in the scene at the same time, and there's music in the background, there's other conversations in the background, that I never had to explain any scene twice was interesting to me. I tend to be prone to providing a lot of detail, and one of the side effects of that is that usually there's confirmation of that detail to make sure that it was heard correctly. But building pools in this way, that didn't happen. I'm sure it'll show up in the future once people relax more and the new car smell is off the game, but, you know, this was an experience that I noticed. We played for about 3 hours. We went through 4 scenes. We played in 2 different locations, major locations, 2 minor locations within each location. And I used about, you know, what I had prepared. The preparation for the game I will change before the next session. I was focusing a lot on atmosphere. I was focusing a lot on what kind of, you know, elements that were hinted at in the movies, you know, as background, that I wanted to bring into the foreground. You know, because we're playing on the edge of the Empire, I don't plan on ever taking the game to establish locations within the film universe, like we won't be going to Coruscant, for example, or we won't be going to Tatooine, unless the players absolutely take the game in that way. I won't be calling them to those locations for job opportunities or, you know, stuff like that. So I wanted to bring, you know, things that you may have seen far down a corridor on the Cloud City on Bespin into the forefront of wherever it was that we would be playing, stuff like that. And so I was focusing on that material, but as soon as I started talking to them in-game, in character, I realized that they were at least as versed in the visuals and the technology and the style of Star Wars as I was. So I could relax on all of that, and I could just hint. I could drop little subtle statements about something, and I could see the imagination take root around the table. So I'm going to need to spend much less time on that. Where I'm going to get to focus my attention is on the characters that they meet, and finding that magical Star Wars balance between the archetype or stereotype and the real character, the motivation and the way they come across. And that's going to be a lot of fun for me. And compared to my RuneQuest game, where I've been building setting, building occupations, building religions, building menus, you know, that sort of thing, this is going to be my totally fun game. This will almost be my casual game. The amount of work that I'll need to do and how much fun it will be to do it will be refreshing and recharging. And the group itself has already the kind of fun banter going in character and out of character that makes Star Wars fun. It almost feels like sitting down to play with a family, so I quite enjoy that too as an added bonus. Now, this doesn't mean that the RuneQuest game is going away or that my intention is going to shift away. This game is a game of opportunity. We won't always be able to play week to week, and we'll play when we can. The fact that 2 of the players showed up wearing a couple shirt of Boba Fett gives me a strong indication that that interest is high, and that we'll be playing as often as we can. But My main campaign right now is RuneQuest, and this one is my fun campaign. You can look forward to more updates on this as we go week to week, and as I get into the system, as I start having problems with some aspects of it, or as I have other positive experiences with it. If you've been playing the game, if you've been exploring it and the dice, please leave a comment or make a video response, and let's get some discussion going about it.